Hello, and good day, everybody. Welcome back to this week's podcast. Finally, I can get the chance to sit around and get to record a podcast in the middle of the morning, which actually it's very early morning. It's pretty much after 1 a.m. So thank goodness I'm getting a recording and getting it done because I've had so many tech interviews on full stack development, which is something I am studying for and getting myself off the beaten path and getting my career going. And so that's what I've been up to, and I haven't been recording actively. And I said, you know what, let's go ahead and get this going because, whoo, today I have to talk about the game industry, the consoles, and there was a lot happening this week and last week. Let's get to it. This is going to be a depressing episode, but boy, I hope this doesn't depress you, this episode, because my God, we've got a lot going on and talking about. And even though, as I've said before about the Steam machine on my YouTube channel, which was videoed, I will say and suggest go out and check out the video if you have not watched it and my take on the Steam machine. Look, I would say there are tons of things I'm not really excited for, and as a PC gamer, I'm glad I'm just sticking with PC and not with consoles anymore. And I will probably explain why in this episode here on episode 271. Let's hit it and let's roll it right now. So I just want to cut away off from the introduction music and just go ahead and say my piece with everything what's been happening, even the less than 48 hours from this point. It's just been a wild news cycle with PlayStation, and everybody is pointing the finger on PlayStation, obviously for good reason, on what's been happening with everything being the all digital era of everything, and no disc on consoles, nothing like that at all too. Now here's my problem with all this too, and I would say someone like myself that used to own a PS5 for a very brief short amount of time, for 2 months, and then from that point I sold it online because I didn't. It's not that not all the games were bad, but I just felt that I just did not like the hardware. I just did not like the current PlayStation model, where when you bought the disc, for me, you would just buy the disc, you pop it into the PlayStation 5, and that was kind of a cool deal to have option, both a physical option and a digital edition option, where you have these two options, where in my point of view, it's good to have that because there are still people that collect physical media, even still to this day. And even myself, I want to get back into it and keep my possessions, especially with not just video games, movies, music, and other forms of medium. And it just, right now, with everything what Sony has done, was just brutal, heavy news. And when I say this, I'm not just saying this as an exaggeration. I'm saying this because with everyone are talking about we need physical formats more than ever and yada yada, which, you know what, in this case, I'm going to have to agree with, in this case right there. Yes, I do believe that we do need to get back into physical media. And if you look at what's been happening lately with storage, I mean, right now the storage wars with the and NVMEs, and then the SSD prices have gone up along with the RAM situation. You have to understand that many gamers that play in console games are not the same people that are into PCs. First of all, there are two different types of medium, and I would say this in defense. I will say that in defense of with PCs, the reason PCs have that had gone digital is for a different point of reason, right? And for me, however, I still use the CD or and DVD drive time to time on my PC in case for emergencies, like similar things like this. Now, I stand with the console side, where with the whole news with Sony ending physical media, and this was a surprise to me when I heard this news. What less than 24 hours ago. I mean, I've heard this from a Instagram feed, and from my one of my friends' Instagram's feed, and I'm thinking, Jesus, Sony doing this right now? Wow, wow. But I mean, you would think that Microsoft would be the first to hit the nail, beat the nail off the coffin too, for this. But no, no, it's Sony. This time it's Sony. And what's ironic of everything else was, first of all, if you look back in the catalog, let's say of the hardware dating back in the late 90s. First of all, Sony was one of the first consoles to introduce disc, or I shouldn't say that, but I think it was the Sega Saturn, and then following along with the PlayStation. That's what made the PlayStation 1 successful. And then following along the footsteps of the PlayStation 2, where they've introduced the DVDs, and it makes me sad to hear this too, because you hear a company like Sony and the PlayStation brand, they've always promoted people to say, "Hey, buy more disc," and they were one of those companies that always were on the forefront and keeping disc alive for like 25 plus years into this. And this is what makes it truly sad to hear the news, and also you hear so many news outlets right now talking about this, and I'm going over on Ars Technica on this, and the reason that I want to bring this up, because while I'm not a console gamer anymore, and I will say that truly, I wanted to get back into consoles, and I thought that, maybe owning a console wasn't so bad until when I tried out the PS5. One of the things that it kind of struck me a bit when I've owned it, my personal experience with the PS5 was that, for one, there are copies that you can purchase physically, and you could just play it. Now, however, when you grab the game or purchase some games that, like, let's say, for example, like Star Wars, the Fallen Order, right, or the Jedi Order. Anyways, I forgot the title of it too. That was on the top of my head, but I can't even remember now. So, anyways, I remember going through the game, and I remember completing the first mission, and I remember that was cool. And I remember going through my local library, and yes, you can go to your local library and rent video games, music, DVDs, and not just books, of course, but the public library. It's interesting because I loved where you can just rent copies of physical media, and that was one thing I love going to the library, is just grab the media or the game that you wanted to play, and that was a very interesting point. And that's where I don't like where they have to cut off options, especially now. Sony announcing the end of physical media, and I can't believe this has to be Sony of all things. And you would think Microsoft will be one of the first companies to do this, but no, it's Sony. And this is one thing I don't like, where when you get a disc in certain games, the disc will have the publisher, or excuse me, the developers will put in the whole game, and depending on what games you get, you're gonna end up buying a copy on that disc right there. But then the one thing I don't like is that if you completed that level, then you have to end up downloading the maps or the next level for that other game. And the problem I find with this is that you don't have enough space onto your hard drive. And your hard drive is very, very limited on the PlayStations. And so let's say if you have like the 512 gigabytes, then guess what? That will take a huge chunk of it right there. That's my issue with these companies now, is that they want you, or they not just want you, but forces you to get into the whole digital era. And now we kind of see what's going on with everything. And when we are seeing the whole phasing out of physical media, the one phrase I hear a lot is you will own nothing and be happy, and you better be fine with it. It's a very sad statement, and it's a terrible thing to say that too. And even Ars Technica, there's a subtitle I'm reading now which says, "We will own nothing. It's truly sad." And it's correct too. In its form, yeah, it is very, very sad of its own. We're seeing that being diminished. And now, however, the post coming from the PlayStation blog, which was posted since yesterday, and let me tell you something. This post right there did not go too well, and people have had how can you say, strong feelings about this. Let's put it this way: very, very strong feelings. It's no good. And even on the comment section, there's over 6,588 comments as I'm recording this right now in this morning's podcast. Again, this is not a good way to do this. And here in this blog I'm reading here is July 1st, which was yesterday. What was it? Yesterday, and today is what, the 2nd? Yeah, today's the 2nd. And here it says, physical disc production ending in January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles. And going over the article that was written down here below, which says, as consumers' preferences and the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting January 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This transition has no impact on games that have already released or will be releasing prior to January 2028 in disc format. Yikes. It's a shame. And then continue on right there is, this is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumers' trends as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. This transition will enable us to align more closely on how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. First of all, I'm going to have to call bullshit on this part of the blog, where this is my issue with this, is that not everyone prefers digital. While I will say that the trend of digital downloads have gone up a bit, sure, but that is not the majority of people. And I think statistically, if you were to talk to real people, here's my issue with this too. Digital games have gone up in price. I mean, so has physical. Now, if there was a huge benefit with digital, why is digital formats so expensive? I mean, here you got companies, not just Sony, but other video platforms and other forms of media that have brought their prices up, promising that the digital services will be inexpensive and it will be nice to get in and get in with the digital market because it'll be much cheaper than physical. But then you look at the prices, it's not it's not what it seems. And this is where I find this to be a big lie coming moving forward with this. It's a huge lie. And then Sony as a company, look, they have had it's one of the big noticeable brands of all time. It's so insane to me that they're going to go ahead and do this, and yet the majority of gamers, or console gamers I should say, are not happy with this decision. I will say that I saw the very much the thin lines. I saw the writing on the wall happening, but that's where I decided. Even I myself is like, what's the point with if companies decide, hey, we're gonna pull the plug on physical media one day, and here they are, they're treating the consoles like if it was a PC, and it doesn't make sense because the two hardwares are so different apart that you can't just treat console players like if they were PC players. It doesn't make sense. And I think that the consoles are a very much of a unique situation where I do think that consoles should continue to have disc, only because that for right there giving gamers options is a must. It's actually a must because if you look at PC, the reasons PC became digital for certain reasons. There were other aspects of why it decided to go very much of a digital space. And now you look at consoles, console gamers, they not all gamers want to get in the whole digital space. And then my issue with being all digital is that, first of all, you cannot trade games. You cannot borrow your digital copy to your friend or whatever, too. And let's just say if you don't like the game, whatever, you want to refund that purchase, you probably can't do that, too. That is an issue. A lot of people are not going to have a choice where they are not, that you're going to have that choice either way. And then the blog continues up. We'll continue to prioritize our resources to drive innovation in how players can access games and provide choices as to where players prefer to purchase new games, whether it's at retailers or PlayStation Store. We we remain committed to delivering a world-class gaming experience to our fans, and we thank you for your continued support. And which that statement right there is such bullshit, because you read the lines and you think that, first of all, here they are, they say that they're committed to delivering a world-class gaming experience, which, first of all, that's a slap in the face. You are not committed to people right there that throw in their hard-earned money on games that, first of all, my take with this is absolutely horrific, and cutting options right there too. And I remember when, over a decade ago, let's say if people wanted to have a collector's edition, first of all, you've had a bonus disc that you had the developer's commentary and other unique factors to it, where in my case right there, and I remember purchasing, you didn't just had just the extra disc along with it too, but you had like physical collections or statues or something like that you can collect right there. And I remember, purchasing the first Dead Space many years back. I would say late 2000s, and I remember the memorabilia, or the what you call that little ray gun, which I thought was really cool to see that in Dead Space's a collector's edition, which was super fun to see that too. And while I would say that was an option, and that's just probably another extra expense. And I remember games back then was like what $50-$60, but then if you decide you want to have a collector edition, then I understand you would have to pay an extra $10 if you want a collector's edition, which hefty price for that too. But it is something that you kind of have to squeeze your wallet if you decide you want more with the bundle, which again, I certainly get with that too. But now I'm looking over with Sony. It's like, they are not for consumers. And also gamers are not going to spend extra a ton of money for storage. I mean, this is absurd, and this is why I find with the PlayStation 5, and I've had, don't get me wrong, like I had fun with Astrobot, I've had fun with Final Fantasy 6 of 16, and then I had fun with The Last of Us. I believe it was a PS4 version at that point. But still, I mean, you look over it now and I'm just kind of thinking, where is the industry going? And this is my issue with this, is just damn, what the hell is up? And I don't want to say that this is just a Sony thing. The other part of me was, when I was going through the research last night, even before recording, on the game industry, and especially how fucked everything is too. Like also Microsoft with the new console, the Project Helium. Here they are. They're hinting the same crap already about having a whole digital ecosystem, which again, a huge it's a bad idea already, a bad idea. And this is my issue with this, is that look, these two are no saints. And along with Nintendo too. Nintendo, I will put it this way: like Nintendo, you can still get copies of the physical format. The problem is that those copies right there, it's not the whole game is not in the what do you call it, the flash cartridges. It isn't, because first of all, if you want extra things into the game, or wanting to go through other parts of the game, you pretty much have to have an internet connection. And my issue with that is not everybody has a fast speed internet. I mean, people are still stuck in the Stone Ages. Like, even there's parts of the country that doesn't have high speed fiber internet. And believe it or not, a few years ago, I was actually stuck with a slow ass DSL connection, and I just thought, damn, this is such BS. And here I am. I have a PS5, and I could not even download a game completely. Probably it'll take me about 16 hours, and I'm just like, wow. And this is why we understand why game preservation is super important now, because any publisher, I can just go out and say, we're cutting the cord. This is no longer needed, and I don't think this game is going to ever sell well within our store's ecosystem. And they can just do that on a whim when it comes to digital storefronts. And I don't like where you got big companies cutting that option right there. It's not good, and it's not even good for consumers as well. And besides, if I wanted to get a hands-on, like let's say The Last of Us, or Last of Us 1, I can go ahead and get The Last of Us on a PS3 or PS4, which, you know what, hey, that's all good too. But then I look over now on consoles. I mean, first of all, consoles should be something that can be very cool to have, and the fact that there should be a lot more options going through a disc, and not forcing people on a whole digital ecosystem is, first of all, you're also cutting options, and not everyone prefers a whole digital ecosystem. And that phrase I'm going to just say that you will own nothing is be happy is one of the most saddest statements, but it's a very true statement right there too, which honestly, I think it's going to be interesting where things are going, because from what I understand, Sony is one of the companies is still making copies for digital, what do you call it, for Disney's movies, for what I understand too, because from what I've understand from previous news sources, that Disney is no longer in the home video market. So now that's passed on to Sony. So because that's something I've gone over before, and makes me wonder now that what Sony is going to do, because there's kind of that interesting relationship now that Sony is still making physical copies for Disney movies. And it makes me wonder that, oh, okay, well, how they're gonna do that. It is crazy all over the board going forward too, and that's where I'm going to say this is, for one, if you are a current console gamer, and let's say if you haven't purchased the Switch 2 yet, or you've been hesitant just like I am, because I would say, like, for Switch 2, I was excited at first for the Switch 2. Over a year ago, now I'm not. I'm not even that excited anymore because of, what they're doing to consumers and what they're doing to people that really want to keep a physical media. And so I would say that now with today, if I wanted to get a console, it would be the Switch 1 all the way, because from what I understood, from news sources from a year ago, November 5th, that as I've looked back, and they said that they're going to still continue making Switch 1 physical copies, which I think wonderful. That is great news to hear. And I want to see Nintendo continuing to keep Switch 1 games up and alive. And that's not a sign. I mean, it's not a bad sign too, but I can predict now that within the next upcoming console generation after the Switch 2, I think that Nintendo are going to continue to normalize this trend as well, along with this industry too. And my thing with this is that I don't like digital. Well, I like digital media through PC, because PC, you definitely have tons of options, and I feel with PCs, and why I've stuck with a PC for this long was that, for one, it's an open platform, and it's really good because you have a lot more options in front of you too. And if I wanted to get a video game on digital, sure, probably if I haven't had a choice, whatever, I'll probably get some games through Steam, or better yet, go to GOG to support that publisher or that developer. And to me, I like the fact that you can just go ahead and download a game through GOG, and I like the concept where those good old games are being preserved for the future. And one of the things I do like about is that, for one, GOG is DRM free. And let's say if anything were to happen to the let's say the storefront, and let's say if GOG or the publisher decides one day we're going to go and take our game out of GOG, whatever, guess what? That digital copy will not be taken off out of your library. So instead, let's say if you downloaded the game already, you can just put that game into your flash drive, and that digital copy of that game will be preserved over the years ahead, which that's what I like about that too. At least it's one of the few digital companies that are preserving digital games for sure, even from old school games, which I have to give them a +1 on that too. While on the other hand, if you're looking for a title in Steam, and with my thing with Steam is that, yes, it has a huge collection of video games too, but Steam has DRM embedded. So that's what I don't like about that too. But again, it's one of those things is that what makes PC good, and why I still kept the PC, is because of, if I decided I want to play an older game, there's the emulation of a game. Emulators are one of the best things for gamers. And yet they can go ahead and play the games that they wanted to play pretty much too. Now, I want to jump in a different segment and part of this episode where I wanted to go over on GOG a little bit too, where, just as I mentioned before, and where I stand on this is that GOG is one of my favorite storefronts so far. And I do love the concept where they are preserving old video games. And if I go to GOG right now, you see a whole bunch of publishers that have gone up and posted their games up on GOG, and it's great too because I like to see that happening. In fact, they don't just post new games. They don't just post old games, but new games as well too. Like the one I'm seeing up front, for instance, Baldur Gates 3. So that's a very popular title now that they've have on sale for $44.99, and its original price was $60. But if it was me, if I had to get a new game, Baldur's Gate 3 will be a one I'll check out too. And another old school title, which is Life is Strange, and they have that on sale on GOG for $2.99. And that's a storefront that always have sales coming in and out all the time, which is amazing. And so that's why I'm just thinking now, like if I had to purchase my games all over again, it would be through GOG. And you know what? I purchased Life is Strange over on the Steam front store, and I would say this is that I own I own the license of the game. I just don't completely own the game itself. So that's a big difference too. And that one of the things that with Steam is that I had to purchase individual episodes separately if I want to go through it too. And I did all that. So to me, if it was me, I would just start all over and be a big advocate for GOG at this point. If you are big into digital copies, then cool, good on you. And I love how even with games like this, in fact, what's the publisher? Publisher's what? Square Enix? Let me take a look here. Oh yeah, Don't Nod and Square Enix. Yeah, there we go. And I felt like this just came in already, just in GOG not too long ago too, which is awesome. And now, here I thought that Square would be very greedy and keep their games all on Steam, but now I see especially with Square. Square is one of those game companies that you don't know what they stand for. And you know what? I'm glad that that Square pretty much opened up and say, okay, we're gonna put our games like say Final Fantasy, Kane and Lynch, Life is Strange, and then other titles like that as well. And then recently, and for anyone that is a big RPG guy like myself here, you're gonna find out like the Saga Frontier games. That's the one that's remastered right now. They have it on GOG. They have a Romancing Saga 3, and then let me go over Saga Scarlet Grace Ambitions, and then you got a Romancing Saga 2. Wow, you talking about an old game like that too. And then Final Fantasy 3 3D remake, which that's the one I got over on the DS many years ago. And so yeah, this is still a great this is a great buy. So if you happen to find a Final Fantasy game or a Square Enix game on sale on GOG, that would be your chance right there. But like I've said before, on the physical front end, and the fact that now it's going to be a disaster, especially for retailers that can no longer sell physical copies of Sony's physical disc. It's no longer going to be on like a retailer like Best Buy or GameStop or whichever market out there, because right there they're just cutting off these physical formats, and also these physical makers. However, they're going to end up losing jobs right there, which it is one of the worst things anyone can do, because I feel that like I've said, with consoles, they're in a very unique position that they want to keep the games that they've owned and pass it along to a friend, or let their friend borrow it, or pass it along to their kids for the years ahead. And now that's not going to happen, because it feels like everything has a short lifespan, and things have to go pretty fast, which I don't know why. But now it's like it's all about Sony's bottom line, their dollar, and I see why they want to maximize their profits, which at the end of the day they want to please their investors and not give a damn about the consumers that have helped them, brought them up many years ago. And Sony is this legendary brand that here they are shooting themselves in the foot. And what I think what's funny about all this too is that what's gonna hurt them the most, and I think this has never aged well. There was a video that actually I'm going to play on this commercial. I think this is like a little commercial that they were making fun of Microsoft at the time, where they wanted their disc to be they want their disc forms to be this, what was it, disc to digital, which that was a big fumble, and it was a very terrible idea at the time, around 2013 2014 at the time. And they've made like this skit, whatever you call it, this little commercial there, and they were knocking Microsoft off the park at the time. This was over a decade ago too, and now this is not truly going well, and I find this to be an awful situation. So yeah, and I honestly think that with everything going on, who wants to go for the PS6 now? Now the PS6, and also it makes you think now, who wants to own the PS6, having everything all truly digital? I wouldn't, and I, especially as I've gone through a previous podcast about this, and I've talked about how this is a bad idea. Not just the fact that Sony is going all in on digital, but who is going to spend over $1,000 on console nowadays too? And you've already seen like the prices of the Steam machine going high as over $1,000 for the damn thing. And in my personal opinion, that Steam machine, the hardware being 4 years old and the hardware just being behind the times right there, who wants to go out and purchase hardware that's dated at this point too? I sure will tell you that I wouldn't get it, because you could probably build a PC that will run you much smoother now, and that will last you quite a long time compared to an older hardware right there too, which is the Steam machine. However, I was truly excited for it until you find out and you go deep into the system right there and their specs right there. I just don't think it's worth the buy. You probably just get a PC. While it is expensive, I get it. It's expensive now, but I would say get a PC if you are interested, because at this point I would just go on and get a freaking PC and just get it over with too. My case, yeah, that would be me. And then it's like the consoles going high as over $1,000. It's just like, forget about it. Who the hell even has $1,000 in today's economy, where everybody is struggling to pay electricity, water, their bills, the basic necessities? At this point, they've already made console gaming into a luxury, and it's like it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it at this point. I mean, if you think that I'm that insane to spend $1,000, no. I think the people they are paying for PS6 that truly do not give a damn. And this is where I'm gonna want to say is, even with the announcements when Rockstar have released or even announced that they are not making physical copies of GTA 6. And look, this is not something I am complaining much about. However, I cannot say I'm a big GTA fan. The only GTA games I played was GTA 3, San Andreas, and then a little bit of GTA 4 along the way too. But still, I really do not like this decision what they're going with right now, because even Rockstar, it's not even when Rockstar announced this a few days before this news cycle. It makes you wonder: is this where the industry is going? Even the gaming industry, it's just depressing because even a lot of people on YouTube are just talking about of how depressing the game industry has been, and they want to have your consumers ditch disc, which is first of all absolutely not, and the fact that I would expect that Rockstar would stand up and say, okay, we'll have a physical disc version and gives people the option to have it, but it just felt like Rockstar just slapped you in the face as well and makes you think that, hey, for anyone that loved collecting physical media, especially for Grand Theft Auto, I mean, come on, it's a big series. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that for people that don't care about physical media, but will probably pay the $80 or $100 on that game, which for me, I'm skipping that nonsense, absolutely too. But that's the one thing is that for those of you that were probably excited for GTA 6, you're probably kind of stepping back again, kind of reconsidering, and some of you may be reconsidering because how steep it is too. And this is one thing I've been hearing from other commentators, especially like the Ultimate Edition. First of all, I ask you this, for anyone listening, is it justifiable enough to even purchase games, even let's say $80 to $100 at this point? Is it even justifiable to spend money that you probably don't have? And I've said this before on YouTube, my YouTube channel, about the Steam machine, and it's really crazy too. And I'm sure people will probably complain and say, "Oh, if you're probably just a brokey, you don't have the money." Yeah, well, guess what? Not everybody's going to have $100 on them too. You know what? And I find this truly stupid because people think that that you can just go out and spend your $100 for a game. Oh, it's nothing. That is just a sneeze on the wind. No, that's really absurd. That now they're making this as a luxury item. That's in this day and age, right there. Look, and I probably could understand if you're a super die-hard GTA 6 person, then you probably don't care about physical disc, and you're just going to go ahead and buy the digital anyways, because you've waited, well, for how long for GTA 6? What, over a decade? And yeah, and that will probably be something that will be for you, that you're going to get. But I'm sure there are others that have waited for GTA 6 and probably saying, probably kind of stepping back a bit. It's like, maybe I'm just gonna have to reconsider GTA 6. This is not worth it too. But that's the way I'm just kind of seeing this, is that why couldn't Rockstar go out and just put a disc version? Because the thing about this is that not everybody is going to have high-speed internet and download good these good patches. And if you wanted like the Ultimate Edition, and let's say if you want that, like say a new weapon or whatever, then you're going to have to download it or get the patch off of it too. Because again, I do see a lot of wrong when it comes to having a whole digital ecosystem in it. And this is where GTA 6 is like a very good example of this too. And I know that there are people out there saying that, oh, well, we've had DLC contents like this. It's first of all, it's been like this for many, many years, blah, blah, blah. But again, do we really have to normalize all this too? It's boggling to me too. But anyways, I don't want to bury this topic or go too deep on this too, because I already said my say. But yeah, I think the comments are going to be very interesting. And again, go leave your take on your comments down below, what you think about this, because truly I think this is a very much, like I say, a huge slap in the face. And the way we are going through this current time right now, forget it. That's where I'm even in the next generation of consoles, I'm just going to go out and say bye. Not going to revisit consoles again. At this point, I'm just going to keep my PC's longevity for a very, very long time, because with PCs you got a lot more options than a console. So that's where I'm just siding with right now. But anyways, comments down below. If you're on YouTube listening to this podcast, leave a like up on it for me. If you like it, super. If not, that's fine as well. So anyways, Leon Legree signing out, and I'll be speaking more on this very soon. You guys have a good rest of the week, and also happy 4th of July weekend coming up too. So for those of you Americans that are celebrating 4th of July, wanted to make this recording beforehand, and which I am glad I did. So with that said, take care. Ciao.